All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the weekly InstructLab community meeting. Before we start, as usual, we'll go through some of these housekeeping rules. All our meetings are governed by the InstructLab Community Code of Conduct. So we have all the links in the meeting notes and agenda document, which is open to everybody. And they are all recorded, and I will try to get them uploaded in a more timely manner and share them on the mailing lists and Slack. So because they're recorded, it's you have the option to have your camera on or off. It's up to you. I was going to show the YouTube channel that we have for InstructLab. I've also created playlists because we have two series of meetings that are recorded going on for community meetings as well as the CLI meetings. So they have playlists for these. If you can, you can add them to your preference. If you have questions, feel free to raise your hand and ask them at any time during the meeting. And if you prefer to, chat instead of speak out loud, you can use the chat function in Google Meet, and we will share the chat transcript for each meeting. And if you go down these meeting minutes, you can see that we've uploaded the video recording as well as the chat transcripts. So you can, if you remember somebody shared a link that you wanted to check or some comment that you wanted to get more information from, you can look back at the history, at the logs. All right, let's get started with today's meeting. Well, first things first, we have had somebody, let me get his name, Khalid Suleiman suggested that because we have these hour-long meetings, to actually end them like 5 minutes before the hour, so people can take a short break before getting on with the rest of the day or the next meeting or something. So I've edited the meetings for this, I believe, as well as the CLI meeting, as well as the office hours, to end at 5 minutes before the hour. So, and we'll also try to make sure that we adhere to this. So, we end at 55 or before to get people a chance to catch a quick break before the next thing. So again, thanks for the suggestions, and to keep things nice going for the whole community. And next up, we have a great video by JJ and Paul. I'm not going to play it here, but it's an hour and 15 minutes long video. It's pretty long video, but there's a lot of great stuff in it. JJ, are you on? Would you like to kind of pick up a few highlights of what you talked about and to get people interested to watch it, perhaps?
Yeah, thank you. So Paul and I used to stream back in the days when we weren't allowed to leave our houses together. So we did a lot of cool little videos and all. And Paul came to me asking, "Hey, what's this InstructLab thing?" And I'm like, "Hey, guess what? We're gonna make a stream of us doing this stuff." So honestly, Paul has just done a little bit of work in the space. So it's a lot of the first beginner questions of the ecosystem and why you want to go down certain paths and understand certain things. Frankly, it became more of a podcast than a stream. We did actually do some technical work at the very end to kind of get it up and going to prep us for the next one, where we're actually going to start doing real work inside of it. But we're starting to see these questions over and over again. So what better way than just have a conversation about it so you kind of go along on the journey with us.
All right, thanks, JJ. And I haven't watched the whole thing through, but I've kind of skimmed through it. And a little thing to hopefully interest you, y'all, is I saw that there was an InstructLab song generated by InstructLab. It's very meta, but yeah, it's very, very cool. And then there's actually more to it. So, watch it and find out what that is all about. It's really cool. Cool stuff.
We so one last thing off of that.
Yeah.
Put it on the background. and just like listen to like two people having a conversation beside you at your office or whatever. And believe it or not, you'll be amazed at what you'll learn through osmosis, which is always nice.
And it's like a podcast, right? Just listen to it while
Exactly.
you go about doing other stuff.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, thanks. Yeah, so feel free to share things that you have created or things that you come across that are cool like this, and we can share it with the wider community. It's really cool. I don't know how many times I said the word cool, but anyway. All right. Next up, we have a couple of requests for comments. This first one is about getting recommendations for additional trusted data sources beyond Wikipedia for the knowledge submission. And I think, Leslie, you would like to comment on this one?
Actually, just because we're friends, I would like to tease JJ for a moment. So if you were following along in Slack, you will notice that JJ was like, why is this issue here when we have this document that lists out data sources that we need beyond Wikipedia, which is when I gently reminded him that he actually asked for this particular issue to be open during last week's community meeting. So folks, if you have suggestions for open content sources that we should be using for knowledge submissions, please add them to this issue. I added a few of my favorites and also noted that it is a hope that as part of collecting these different suggested open data sources that we can use to train or use for knowledge submissions to the project to train the models, that we could also hopefully come up with a rubric that allows us to easily say, yes, of course, it is a no-brainer to use this particular piece of content as a knowledge source. So contributions very much welcome and appreciated. Thank you.
Yes, thanks. And again, contributions comes in many different forms. So this is a great way to add something to the InstructLab that's not necessarily code. The second one is the discussion about using Slack. And actually, we did kind of go through this a little bit in the last meeting, and we have a lot of great comments and considerations about using the different tools, alternatives, and so on. We would like to hear from you by the end of this week so that we can process all this feedback and then make a decision. So please, if you haven't already, even if you said contributed to the discussion during the meeting last week, if please put your points here so we have one place that we can gather all of them and for the decision making. Is there any questions or comments about this before we move on? All right, if not, yes, Leslie.
I actually would like to ask for clarification on something while we're here and can speak about it real time. So one of the comments on the issue notes that choosing Matrix may be a better choice than, say, Discord as a communication platform, because Matrix has has more affinity in the free part of the free and open source software community. And also there is a feeling that might be preferable for folks who are engaging within the community who are based in Europe. And I am based in Europe, but I am an American, so I feel like I am not well poised to comment on that. And I don't know if anyone has thoughts, feelings, opinions, has heard from their friends at various conferences that one choice is better than another. And also, yes, definitely please comment in the issue, but I feel like if we're going to spend the time and energy required to migrate to a different communication platform, we had better have as much information as possible and maybe talk it through together, because it's a lot of overhead to move people. And we do not want to move people and then decide that we made the wrong choice and then try and move people again, because eventually people are just going to be like, you folks are chuckleheads and we don't want to talk to you anymore, which is certainly not the outcome we want. So sharing thoughts is wonderful, and I will now stop talking. Thank you.
Thanks, Leslie. JJ, you're first. You might be on mute.
Oleg, you can go first. I'll go second.
All right. That is very, very nice of you, JJ. I wanted to just plug Discord because of a few reasons that would make your guys' lives simpler. The first of which is that a lot of open source communities are already on Discord, especially for big projects. Like I know Vercel has a lot on there, a few others. And then, so you have an easier time of actually sourcing people to come in. And people are already familiar with it and feel a lot more comfortable with it. And then a second reason is that it already has a lot of developed tooling for moderation, which would also make our lives easier. And if we ever wanted to make any integrations, it's very simple to do. So those are the two reasons I feel that Discord is a very strong choice.
Thanks, Oleg. JJ?
Yeah, so I'm one of the ones that brought up the point about our friends in the EU and FOSDEM and FOSDE specifically. They use Matrix as a communication platform for FOSDEM specifically. And when they were going through the times when you couldn't leave your house, they built a whole the whole FOSDEM conference was ran through a Matrix instance. What is it called? Donated by Element specifically, the corporate arm of Matrix. They believe strongly in obviously the open source aspect of it, and one of the challenges of Discord is that it is not open sourced and it is a private company, where the community that we are trying to engage with to show a truly open source LLM and the core value of what we're trying to say is strange. I mean, also, I get it. We're also on Google Meet right now, right? We're not on Jitsi, but there's still an aspect to communication that we should have some way to do it. I know we had this conversation also with the OpenStack community back in the day. One of the requirements of going from I was the PTL for OpenStack Chef specifically, and one of the requirements for us to become part of the Big Tent is that we had to stop using Google Meet because we needed purely open source ways to communicate, which was IRC. We had to have our meetings on IRC and asynchronously through IRC at the time. So there is some precedence in the community for this type of work. Matrix didn't really fully exist at that time, so that's not an exact parallel there. But I can tell you that there are a lot of people out there who see the choices of the software we use to build and the way we go from there. Hopefully that makes sense. I'm sorry, I'm babbling.
Thanks, JJ. Mark?
Yeah, I see there is a tension here, I think. I think I like the idea of JJ's. I like open communications. I've worked in projects where that's been the case, and I think it would be a great thing to have it. However, I will acknowledge Oleg's point that for AI specifically, a lot of the enthusiasts that are already working in AI that are not doing RHEL AI or InstructLab specifically, they're on Discord. Like that the communities, for better or worse, are just there. So like there may be some argument for having a presence in both places. Like we have our fully open maybe a fully open chat on Matrix or something, and that's maybe where you do development discussion. But we could also have a Discord presence for questions or suggestions or stuff like that. That might get too much to manage, but I think there's merit to both sides.
You can always have a bridge between them too.
Yeah, we could also do a bridge. That's true.
Did I understand correctly that we can bridge Discord and Slack? What are we bridging?
You can bridge all three of them. There's a company called Protocol Labs that is like largely open source, and they have a three-way bridge between them.
Does anyone happen to have a UI on their screen that they would share where these things are being bridged so I would see what a user sees? Because I've never done this. Or should I just go look at the Protocol Labs website and stop wasting people's time?
Yeah, it's in their Discord. It's in the specifically if you go to the IPFS Discord, you'll see that they have like a bridge, and it'll say like the main things that you'll see that kind of stick out is it just looks like a normal chat channel, but when somebody messages from Slack, there will be like, oh, this is a message from Slack, like here's the user like name, here's the user ID, like stuff like that. But other than that, the contents of the message are the same.
Okay. I'm sorry to be asking dumb user questions, but I'm going to ask them anyway. How does it work? So Discord is basically a forum. So someone posts something in Slack and what? It creates like a new post in the forum for that thread?
Discord is not discourse. Discord is a chat.
Yeah.
platform.
Discord
Sorry
is
to interrupt. Yeah.
Discord.
I will constantly keep making this mistake, and I apologize to all involved. Okay.
Discord is kind of like Slack for personal, like for gamers, effectively. That's the
It's the consumer facing Slack.
I am not a gamer. This is why I am so hopelessly
You
lacking.
don't have to be a gamer. It's more than that.
yeah. I mean, its roots are in gaming, but it's got a huge amount of like other communities now. But its core design philosophy started in gaming, and it's also good for other things. But yeah.
I'm gonna share. I have actually a Discord, Ansible Discord bridge with the Ansible matrix. I'm gonna share a window. Let's see if that shows.
While that's happening, I do want to say I did run DevOps Days Texas with a couple friends through Discord during the time we couldn't leave our house. So I was able to run a full conference using Discord at a time. So it is extremely powerful. But we did notice that there were some issues with it, but it is very, very nice.
So we have a Mark. We'll get to you. Sorry for the delay. We have this one Discord server thing that a bunch of sorry, I'm trying to remember what I did in Ansible. Volunteer tech writers in Nigeria who are contributing to the Ansible documentation, and they use Discord. But Ansible's main communication is a matrix. So we bridged this one channel to a matrix room, the Ansible documentation room. As you can see actually here, all this with label app is actually the bridge app. So all this, most of the messages came from the matrix that came over to the Discord channel. So they're actually not that active on Discord after all. But the bridge is pretty similar. Different bridges have different maturity. Some are better than others, but the Discord matrix bridge is pretty cool. And we've also bridged in Ansible network channel to the networking Slack, because again, they had like 1,000 over people on the Slack workspace before we started with Matrix. So we didn't, it was not easy to move everybody. So we created a bridge instead. Bridges are not free. They usually cost something, but it's a good way to, if we have just a few Discord rooms, mainly for the users or people who are more familiar with using Discord, we can still have a matrix instance or server, but have a few rooms bridged to the necessary Discord rooms. Yes, Mark, you're next.
If Leslie has a question specific to this demo, then go for it first. I have just more general question or thought.
Thank you. I do have one question. So what I am hearing is we can have a world in which we have a matrix server for those who prefer to use matrix, bridge it into Discord, and then life is groovy. But if Discord is also open source, why would we need matrix at all?
Is Discord open source? No.
Discord is not open source. Thank you.
Discord is very much not open source now.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. I got confused because I saw Discord-open source from Dan shared in chat, and then I got to Discord heart open source. and I got suckered into thinking it was open source. Okay, now I have clarity. Thank you all very much. I will close by saying, I think we got to meet people where they are, man. If all the AI homies are over in Discord land, I think I feel like that makes our choice for us, frankly, but we'll continue to discuss. Thank you.
Yeah. My point I just wanted to make is just from like, browsing, Linux and open source forums, there is some resentment / backlash against Discord for the fact that it's not open source, and the fact that a lot of discussions that would happen, like for example, on GitHub issues would happens in Discord in some small open source projects. That is a problem because, if you fix if somebody, just types a message in Discord saying, here's a workaround for your bug, that gets suckered into the void of, chat history, and it's impossible to find. I don't think that will be a huge problem for us because we are a large project that has processes where we can kind of pull that knowledge out and put it into, more publicly accessible structures. But it's something that is a common complaint, but I think we can manage it. Does Discord preserve chat history, Leslie? It does.
Do you have to pay for that?
No.
No.
I'm not that familiar with Discord.
Okay, hold on a second. We don't pay them. We're worried about losing chat history. What happens with the nice people who make Discord go, I'm not making any money and I'm going to go and get a real job where I can make real money and I'm going away?
So I believe the two ways that they mainly make money, number one, they sell something called Discord Nitro, and then which allows you to basically enhance your server and gives you extra capabilities. And I would guess that the other way is they probably sell data, but that is a guess. I'm not asserting that that's how they do it.
Why would they change the business model of a lifetime? Okay. Thank you for all of the additional information and educating me, folks. I appreciate it.
Thanks. And there's also argument for not migrating, which Nathan has provided in the GitHub issue. Changes are difficult, and I think the main thing we have with Slack is the history, the logs in the history. So if we make more use of the mailing list, again, pushing for that, also processes, maybe there is no need for migration, but I still see there's more hands coming up. So Mark, are you still have your hand up, or is it the previous one? No, Leslie.
No, sorry.
Yeah, it's all right. Leslie.
You're
Mute.
on mute, Leslie.
Bad mute button. I don't want to pick on anybody, but there's literally someone in this room who has said that they have a lot of trouble engaging in upstream communication channels because of the context switch hit between two Slack instances. No one needs to talk in this meeting if they don't want to. Please feel free to comment in the issue, but we have two different things that we need to do. One is we need to reach a wide audience of people, and it sounds like lots of AI folk are on Discord. Yay to that. I do not want us to create a solution that is going to cause even more cognitive load, context switch overhead for our maintainers, which is going to lead to us having fewer conversations in the open, because I am the one who is running around putting on the annoying hat, grumping at people, talking internal Slack to go talk in public Slack all the time. I am sorry. It is my job to annoy all of you. It is not that I enjoy being annoying. And if we create yet another chat tool, are we going to make it even harder for people to context switch? I already know the context switch hit is very high for me, and I am deeply motivated to talk upstream. So maintainer team, if you're on the call and you want to talk about that, please do. If you don't, please comment in the issue, because we need to think about that balance and trade-off as well. And it's very important, because at this point the community is small, and making sure that whatever we do is going to be most effective for you is probably the thing we have to prioritize. Because if you're not able to have your conversations in an upstream first fashion, if that's challenging for you, we're not going to get to the point of growing the community.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, as someone
Yeah.
who's a maintainer,
Yes,
context
Nathan.
switching is, oh, sorry.
No, go
Context
ahead. Yeah.
switching is, context switching is difficult in any sense. In my personal opinion, context switching between two workspaces in the same client is a lot easier than having to get a new client, a new account, a new UI, and having to do context switching between yet another chat platform. I think Slack, for all its, I'm not saying it's the perfect chat client by any means, but for all its faults, it's something that most people are already involved in. I don't see the whole AI community is on Discord, not Slack thing. Is that doesn't something that really, unless I see real data behind that, that's not really something that, I mean, even if that were the case, like, it doesn't seem like a real barrier for me, at least, in my personal opinion. And yeah, I mean, there's a lot of, rhetoric around, oh, well, it's, more open source, or it's something that, more people like to use when they're gaming, whatever. But, in my opinion, none of this is a hard enough motivator to actually go through the effort of a migration, which is not a trivial thing. And as far as the chat history goes, frankly, I actually see that as a bit of a feature, not a bug, for the purpose of that we want to be pushing people toward, I think, the mailing lists, because irregardless of which chat client we're using, email is something that is persistent. It's not going away. It's used in almost literally every open source community that exists. It's sort of the central chat, if you will, of async communication. And I think when it comes to certain conversations like architecture or design, frankly, we shouldn't be having those conversations on a chat client. We should be having those on a mailing list. It's more queryable. It's easier to follow. It's less digging through chat histories, which is something that you have to do no matter what client it is. So, so anyway, I don't want to spend a ton of time on this. I've already written a lot of this out on the issue, but yeah, I personally would be against doing any type of migration.
Appreciate that, Nathan. I think Oleg, you're next.
Yes, this is Charlie speaking through Oleg. I don't know. I honestly am going to say the opposite of what Nathan said, which is kind of funny. Like, as you were saying that, Nathan, I was kind of chuckling, because I think that the thing that gets me is that sometimes I'm in our work Slack, and sometimes I'm in upstream Slack, and I don't know where the notifications are coming from because the Slack UI kind of sucks for having multiple workspaces. So honestly, I think having a separate Discord, for me personally, it's just a personal thing, might actually work better for my brain. Just having them fully separated out, because like half the time I get a notification, it disappears, and all I hear was the Slack noise, and then I'm like, which workspace did it come from? I don't know. I kind of agree though that at least a lot of projects that I've been a part of, I've never been a part of a project that uses Slack as its source of truth. That's just a thing that I've never seen before. So if we're trying to do something that's, more with upstream communities that I've witnessed, Discord's definitely the place to be. I will say Discord is really bad with bots, and you have to really make sure your server is locked down. Like a lot of communities that I'm in have bots that get added like every day that just like send weird messages. Like even the Podman Discord has started falling to this recently. So if we do go that route, we have to make sure the security on the server is really up to snuff. I think there's probably a setting that's just like no bot accounts. But I don't know.
Yeah, plus one Charlie's point real quick. Whenever I have gone into other upstream communities that are hosted on Slack, I always have a very difficult time of actually finding what the conversations are. And if I ask a question, I might get a notification from like a Slack bot that's like, oh, this channel's been removed or this or that. And when I actually get a real notification, it's kind of hidden in the weeds of everything else. And the only like major use case that I have for an upstream community on Slack is to just search through to see if somebody has like encountered the same problem that I have. And then that's pretty much it.
All right. BJ?
Yeah, well, 100% what Nathan said. Definitely. I think the other thing too is I think we got here because there was the news article that Slack wanted to use our data to train their AI, and suddenly it morphed into, oh my God, let's move off Slack. It seemed like maybe we're overreached here on the original question. But I do think that, as Nathan said, there's not a compelling value proposition to suffer the pain of moving right? If we gained enough, then you could take the pain. But I don't see that Discord certainly isn't much. It's just a different commercial product. It's not necessarily better. And, you know, if you have an interesting enough community, people will come to you. You don't have to sort of try to find them. So I vote for just where we are. We're good. And again, as Nathan said, the no history is a feature, not a bug.
All right. Thanks. Leslie?
I just wanted to provide a quick point of clarification, which is, EJ, you are entirely correct. The impetus for having the discussion about potentially changing was motivated by the change to the Slack terms of service. The decision to use Slack was one made very early on when we had no concept of who our maintainer team would be, what their needs were, and we didn't do any kind of rigorous investigation of meeting an audience where they are. So I'm just providing that level of clarification so it does not, it can absolutely feel like we have gone completely off the rails of the question of, should Slack really be using our data to train AI? Yes, no. And should we opt out but like that was a catalyst. It's not that we have wandered off into the wood of error because of that catalyst. It's more that catalyst uncovered existing discontentment.
Yeah, I think even before we decided on Slack, we had these, should we use Discord, should we use Matrix discussions already? So that kind of brought it back to the surface, I guess. Yeah.
And I guess we can also just, highlight this to everyone through Slack. If we are like really concerned about that, then people will be warned that whatever they might be saying to people privately then might be used for training. So then they will be more cautious maybe with what they say. So they know what to do. So,
yeah.
As a really fresh new maintainer, I'm also on Nathan's side, that it seems like too much of a migration for very little value added as well. So.
All right. Oleg?
Yeah, it's Charlie through Oleg again. I just want to say, I think that we're soon not going to be able to make these sorts of decisions. So like, I think I hear what everyone's saying, like, oh, like as a new member of the community, I really don't want to do this yet. And that's a totally valid thing to feel. But I think we haven't really gained our full momentum yet in terms of community. I would say even in like a month, we can't make these sorts of switches. So like if we want to do this, we should do it. I think that we shouldn't hold ourselves back if we think it's the right call. I just know personally, like this experience with Slack so far, it's again, this is all like personal stuff, but like I feel like I haven't been able to really dive into the community Slack just because of the things that I discussed earlier, how like, yeah, you might be right, Nathan, this might be a workspace problem, but from what I can tell with Slack, it's kind of hard to like balance two workspaces on the app. I'm not talking about the web interface. I don't know. I just think that like we still have the ability to make these decisions, especially before the CLI is like 1.0 and before the community has really grown. And I think that like Discord is probably more sustainable, especially if we don't have chat history on Slack. That's kind of like wild that that's the thing that we don't have. I don't know. That's just my 2 cents.
Leslie?
I want to make sure I understood this correctly. We could set up a bridge between Matrix, Discord, and Slack, right?
Yeah, there's no reason that you'd have to pick one over another.
Okay, so hang on one second, JJ. I promise to yield the floor. I remember someone telling me that our friends at IBM cannot access Discord, and that is one of the reasons it is important to us to use Slack. And while I would never want to bias our community decisions based on the needs of the founding members of the project, because this is not all about us, I do note that it is essential that our friends at IBM are able to collaborate with us in these early stages of the project. So can someone confirm or deny the rumor for me that Discord is inaccessible for IBM humans? JJ, yielding the floor.
So yeah, on that note, we've gotten some words back from the team, and there it is unclear now. Which is I realize we're recorded and I can't really say much more than that. But the initial understanding was, let's just say the policies we have not moved with the times. So there's been other options that we can actually figure out. Again, I can't say anything because it's recorded, but it's very confusing. It is very, very confusing. I do want to throw in also on the bridging portion. I know, Carol, you showed us some of the bridging on there. My question is, we want to use threads pretty rigorously as an org. How does threads work inside of the bridging? You can't thread across all the different posts, right? So we just be going back to like old school IRC where the conversation is just, streamed. Is that right?
Well, technically there is so both Discord and Slack support threading. Whether the actual apps support it, I'm not sure, but you could probably set that up. I don't think it would be too bizarre to think that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with the Discord to Slack bridge, but I know Matrix bridges to either Discord or Slack does not support threading. Matrix itself does support threading, but they are not compatible in the bridge. Oleg again.
So this is Oleg this time, not Charlie. I wanted to ask quickly, if IBM is not allowed to use Discord in any capacity, then would they even be allowed to use a Discord bridge? And if that is not possible, then would it at least be acceptable for them to be relegated to like a channel that just does not have a Discord bridge, and one that does, they just wouldn't use?
JJ, you have to have all the answers because you had an answer before, so clearly you must have an answer now.
So again, this is recorded, and I can't talk about official policies in public space. But it is. Let's just put it this way: it is much easier for IBMers to be on Slack specifically than to be considered in policy than anything else. That is known. It was actually a problem back in the OpenStack days. Again, I wasn't actually an IBMer at the time, but I know IBMers had challenges joining the IRC, Freenode IRC, due to restrictions that were internal. But eventually they got the exceptions to make that happen. So there is a path, but it requires rather high exceptions with these different policies. So I'm not trying to be difficult. I'm not trying to be like wishy-washy here. It's just that, again, this is a recorded medium, and I'm not allowed to really talk about these policies publicly without hinting strongly in my words, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no one wants you to reveal company confidential information. That is not the purpose of the community meeting. Just thank you for the context. That was great. I'm sorry that I started this bike shedding discussion. I want to paint the bike shed puce. Thank you to everyone for sharing your thoughts. This was highly useful and valuable and constructive for me, at least. Carol, you should get us back on the rails because
Yes.
sorry that you derailed us, and I promise never to do it again.
No problem. I would like to say one last thing about this, which is, company policies needs to be considered, but also geofencing, because Discord is definitely blocked in China. I don't know if we're going to be very active with anybody from China, but you know, like I'm quite aware of these because I speak Chinese. I visit Chinese websites, and a lot of times, you know, they're blocked from simple things like GitHub, and they have problems contributing to a lot of open source projects. There are ways around it, of course, but you know, we don't want to put barriers where if we don't have to, if there's a way, you know, to avoid that. So just something to keep in mind. But whereas I think Slack is okay, and Matrix definitely okay, because, well, it's not one server they blocked. There's all kinds of Matrix home servers, defederated, so federated, decentralized. Okay, now let's move on. Middle East, actually, I'm not sure about Middle East, possibly. Yeah. So let's move on. And if you have any more comments, please add that to the issue 279. All right. We have, you know, besides great video content, we also have people writing really cool stuff about InstructLab or about topics related to InstructLab. So there's a couple of that I just got to know about today. So one is about PyTorch, recreating PyTorch from scratch, which sounds really complicated, but you know, probably a good read. I haven't read it yet, so I'll bookmark it for later. And the other one is by Manoj Jagirdar. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. This is part one, so I'm thinking it's going to be a series, and it's about InstructLab and how to train InstructLab, and the first part is about skills. So I'm heard that the second part will be about knowledge. So I think in the first meeting, people have asked about what's the difference between skills and knowledge, and so this will go probably more in depth, and we can learn more from there. Again, I have not read it, but you know, feel free to check them out yourselves. Yes, thanks to Manoj. All right. I thought this was gonna be a short meeting because I didn't have many items on the list, on the agenda list, but the Slack conversation got quite involved. So is there anything anybody wants to bring up before we go to kind of wrapping things up? Yes, JJ.
So I just wanted to throw out that we had a couple more those blog posts. Thank you so much for that again. I want to pitch it to people posting it also onto the subreddit that we have for InstructLab. I know that it's a good place for us to post these types of things. And also if it comes from the actual writer, that also is more advantageous, because then it isn't just the moderators posting to the subreddit. And hopefully if we do good content on there, it will actually become a nice catalog of content as we build up and up and up. That's kind of how we're designing it to be right now, more so than for Q&As, because obviously we want to send people to the other locations for Q&As. But this is more for a catalog of information so we can search against it down the path. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
This is a great point, because I've been posting some of the stuff to the subreddit, and I think it's like you said, it's better for the author themselves to do that. And or even if you're not the author, you know, feel free to post it there to bring attention to these great content that we have. All right. Do we have time for a couple of intros, or anybody want to talk about? We had a few introductions last time. Nathan, would you like to nominate somebody to get to know, for us to get to know?
I thought you were going to ask to introduce myself again. Yeah, I'll nominate somebody. Who did introductions last time? Is there anyone we missed?
We did Carol, Leslie, JJ, Ben, and Nathan Yu.
Okay. I think Charlie would be a good one, and maybe Sebastian as well.
All right, let's go with them. Charlie.
This is Charlie speaking through Oleg once again. We were all sitting here, Nathan, and we were like, yeah, he's definitely going to choose one of us. So it's very funny. Hello, everyone. I'm Charlie Dorn. I'm also in this call, but we're all in a room, so we have to use one laptop or else there'll be crazy echo. I am a software engineer at Red Hat, working on InstructLab, previously working on OpenShift before this. Don't know what else to say about myself. I don't know. Well, it's nice to meet you all, and I'll be here every week.
Favorite flavor of ice cream?
I was actually gonna say that, so that's really funny that was what you said. I really like fish food from Ben and Jerry's. Very kind of a niche flavor to choose. I feel like people might choose like a, I don't know, like an ice cream shop flavor, but I very much go with the Ben and Jerry's. Yeah, cool. Thank you. I don't know who's next. I think we said Sebastian maybe.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
Yeah. So
Thanks, Charlie. Sebastian, go ahead.
yeah, thank you. So yeah, I'm Sebastian Han. I also work for Red Hat. I'm part of the emerging tech group, and I just recently joined and started working on InstructLab. I was recently nominated, actually today, officially nominated as a CLI maintainer. So nice to meet you all, and looking forward to doing great things for our upstream community.
All right. Thanks for your contributions and congrats on being newly appointed maintainer for the CLI.
Yeah, thanks. Much appreciated.
Would you like to nominate another person to do a quick intro?
Wow, it's so tough to nominate people. So like random people from
random
person?
doesn't matter. Yeah, we were just
okay. So I'm just gonna point on Thor because he used to be in emerging tech as well.
All right, Thor.
Sure, sure, not a problem. So my name is Thor, or fully Thorsten. I'm in Bonn right now, so pretty close to Leslie. Okay, actually I'm in Düsseldorf because it's the office of Red Hat here, but pretty close. I'm also Red Hatter, working in ET for about 2 years now, good for 2 years. I started, I worked at Operate First, for example, and right now I'm at the NERC area, MOC. And in fact, that NERC/MOC is getting more connected to InstructLab. And for sure, InstructLab is a really interesting project for me. That's why I'm getting more into it and joining more and more of these meetings.
Cool. Thanks, Thor. We are coming up on the... Yes, Mark, please.
Hi, I'm Mark. I'm a software engineer. I was working in Conflux, sort of still am. I'm kind of half and half on Conflux and InstructLab. So my background is in security, specifically supply chain security. And that's what I'm looking to bring to InstructLab. I demoed in the CLI call last week, SIG-Store signing of models, and I'm looking to continue down that path. Yeah, that's me.
Thank you, Mark. Mark Oleg. All right, Leslie.
Mark, can you bring your demo to a community meeting near you? Inquiring minds want to see your demo.
Yes, I would love to do that. Maybe next week.
We will love
Talk to
that.
the boss lady. She knows what's on the agenda.
All right, Mark, I'll get in touch with you to make the demo happen next week. Thank you. And as we said in the beginning of the meeting, we want to make sure that everybody gets a chance to stretch your legs before the next thing on your agenda, so on your calendar. So thanks everyone for being part of today's meeting, and thanks for all the great discussions. And we'll see you in next week's community meeting.
Thank you, Carol. Thanks,
Thanks,
everybody.
Leslie. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
See ya.